is Shannon. I'll be talking to you today about protecting marriages. When love is made into a covenant, a flame is created in the heart. And just as a person accepts Christ, creates a covenant of love, so does a man and a woman who exchange vows to be married. But what would you do if a person walked away from Christ? Would you do the same thing for a person who walked away from their marriage? Could you, as a fellow believer, encourage a covenant flame to die? Marriage vows are not just for married people. Marriage is to be protected by all believers. According to the Richmond Journal, the divorce rate for Americans in their first marriage is 41%. It is 60% for the second and 73% for the third. As a church, it is imperative we lower these divorce rates and prevent harm to families. Divorce has a devastating impact on the lives involved. Not only is there financial tolls, but there is damage done psychologically and emotionally. This may include low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, bitterness, stress, and even distrust in God. This is true for children as well. There needs to be a shift in thinking. In Matthew 19:4-9, Jesus is confronted about his views on marriage and why Moses permitted divorce. He replied, "Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard. But it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for marital unfaithfulness and marries another woman commits adultery." Unfortunately, hard hearts create a harmful environment for the spouses and, worst of all, for the children. I believe God permitted divorce for the sake of peace, but Jesus stated that divorce is not what God had in mind. Instead, God calls us to reconcile. Paul in 1 Corinthians 7:12 says, "To the married I give this command, not I, but the Lord. A wife must not separate from her husband, but if she does, she must be reconciled to her husband, and a husband is not to divorce his wife." Sometimes situations call for a separation, especially if there is no peace in the home or in extreme cases there is abuse. But God made it clear that faithfulness must remain. In the case of abuse, I do encourage all family members to get psychological help. So, what about the single Christians? A strained marriage creates a ground for witnessing and bringing people closer to God. It is our duty as Christians to encourage each other to seek Christ as we should for anyone fallen or strained. James 5:19-20 states, "My brothers, if one of you should wander from the truth, and someone should bring him back, remember this: whoever turns a sinner from the error of his ways will save him from death and cover a multitude of sin." 1 John 5:16 gives the instruction, "If anyone sees his brother commit a sin that does not lead to death, he should pray, and God will give him life." God will lead that person through the storm, and Christ will heal those wounds. It is our job as brothers and sisters to love on them, pray for them, and encourage them. However, it is not our job to judge them or condemn anyone, no matter how the situation appears. Instead, we should lead each other to heal and to forgive, just as Christ forgave us. Reconciliation is always an option to be taken, even in the cases of marital unfaithfulness, for no one knows that pain better than God. He shows that in Hosea 3:1. It says, "The Lord said to me, go and show love to your wife again, though she is loved by another and is an adulteress. Love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred raisin cakes." God reconciled through Christ, and so can any strained marriage, even with infidelity involved. So in conclusion, I urge all Christians to work together to lower the divorce rates and prevent second and third marriages from occurring in America. God hates divorce, and it is our responsibility to change things. I leave you with Malachi 2:13-16. "You flood the Lord's altar with tears. You weep and wail because he no longer pays attention to your offerings or accepts the pleasure from your hands. You ask why? It is because the Lord is acting as a witness. between your partner, the wife of your marriage covenant. Has not the Lord made them one in flesh and spirit? They are his. And why one? Because he was seeking godly offspring. So guard yourselves in spirit, and do not break faith with the wife of your youth. I hate divorce, says the Lord. Brothers and sisters, there is power in unity. Let's relight the flame that was created to last.